OK, let's head back to our breaking news story coming out of East Jerusalem. This is where tear gas has been used by Israeli police to disperse hundreds of praying Palestinians outside Temple Mount. Now, the tensions in Jerusalem show no sign of fading. This is now the 7th successive night of unrest. As we mentioned earlier, we said we were hoping to speak to RT Arabic correspondent Dalia Namari, who was caught up in the unrest, and indeed she joins us on the line now. Dalia, we just saw some of the video footage of you caught up in what seemed like pretty unpleasant scenes there. Just explain to us, if you will, what happened there.
Hi, good evening. So the tension is riding clearly around the old city of Jerusalem and around the Al-Aqsa Mosque, as the Israeli police is still closing the main gates and entrance to the old city in front of protesters who are protesting the metal gates that Israel erected on the main gates of the mosque, and they don't want to go through these gates. So what they're doing is that they're protesting every day for the 5 prayers that Muslims do each day. They come and pray them in the streets outside the entrances to the mosque, so they don't want to enter through the metal gates. And today is the same, and in the evening, hundreds of worshippers came and protested here. They protest that they do their prayer in the street, and we were standing and covering the prayer. After it was finished, protesters had made some, they are. The clashes started when a police car tried to enter through the worshippers, through the protesters, and that's when the tension rose, and the Israeli forces who were standing at the barriers behind me that you can see now, they left, started throwing sound grenades and started using the sound grenades to disperse the protesters. And after that, they brought the sewage water tank, the one that they use also to break the protests, and they used it here. And now the streets are empty, quiet is back, but the way they pushed us, and they pushed the people who are protesting, and also the worshippers, some of them are old people, women, and between all others, there was no difference in the way they pushed. They hit me in the back. It really was a very violent act by the Israeli police, who are on high alert, as it seems day after day. There are more procedures around the old city, and way harder to cross the new barriers that they have put here. And yesterday and the day before, not yesterday, yesterday was the day of rage in Jerusalem, and it was very difficult even to get to this point. But the days before, we used to go as close as we can to the old city walls and to the Lion's Gate behind me up the hill. But today was very difficult for any journalist, anyone, to go and get as close as possible to the old city. This is the main picture here, and what we're expecting is more clashes in the next days if the Israeli procedures around the Al-Aqsa Mosque is still the same, and if they don't remove the metal gates here. Muslims and Palestinians, not just Muslims, we are seeing also Christian Palestinians coming here to protest with their Muslim neighbors, and what we are seeing is that people are saying that the protest will go on and it may escalate worse in the coming days.
And Dalia, just very briefly before you go, just to clarify for our viewers, because we saw pictures there of what seemed to be peaceful protests, as we've called them, prayers from the Palestinians. Are you saying that the first violence was used by the Israeli police in this case?
let's make it more clear here. You see, the whole road was blocked with worshippers. We're talking about hundreds of worshippers coming on each prayer. Muslims have 5 prayers a day, and more people are coming in the evening after the sun sets. And it's better to pray on the street, because then the weather is better for them to be on the street. But what happened is that when people were gathering in the street, we were talking about a massive number of protesters who didn't do anything and didn't throw stones at the Israeli forces. It was peaceful. They just were voicing slogans to Al-Aqsa, against the Israeli procedures. And after that, an Israeli police car tried to enter in between the protesters, who blocked its way. And one of the protesters, what we saw is that he threw a plastic bottle of water at the police car. After that, we saw the whole police who were standing at the barrier behind me right now. It's empty, but there was lots of police standing there with all of their guns and equipments. They started throwing the sound grenades to disperse the crowd, and that's when people began shouting more and throwing more bottles of water, and the Israeli police attacked violently. There might have been some stones thrown afterwards, but what we're talking about is that the first violent act clearly was used by the Israeli police. Here, the protesters are very keen on keeping the demonstrations peaceful, because they are very much aware that their message to the world won't get there only by peaceful ways, and to say that the worshipping place, which is Al-Aqsa Mosque, should be opened to all Muslims without metal gates, without Israeli security checks, and without any obstacles.
Dalia, many thanks for bringing us up to date on the scenes there. That's Sati Arabic correspondent Dalia Namari, who was caught up in the middle of that unrest there in East Jerusalem.